I don't know if you got a chance last week or this week, Christopher, to watch the video since you're out of town, but I'll share my screen. We basically, inside of our class community Google Drive, so we kind of just went through this kind of design of kind of what the user interface is going to look like, just so we can understand what we're doing. So basically, have here, then it goes into here, and so we'll have everything will be in local storage. So we'll have the storage; it'll know it's me, and then we'll have the different topics here. So this is what Evan talked about. What he wanted his idea to be is like you have these different topics that you set up. So then I want you to come to the topics, and the whole. Let me share a picture with you. Why we thought of this real quick. I I shared with him this picture of my work, something that we built um, using simple boxes. I don't know if you've heard of ServiceNow or not, but we use ServiceNow. And basically the user can create, so these are all of my buttons for my work. So like I'll have like my incidents and stuff and my assignments, my catalog requests and stuff just following ITIL. But basically you just come in here and just click on it, then it takes you straight over to that view. Or if you want, like you wanted to do settings, you can change settings down here. So there's a little, we call it a hamburger button at the bottom with the three. And it kind of just pulls them all up in kind of a list view. So you can kind of see them all in a list. So our kind of thoughts were looking at this document. We could go ahead through here and we basically have, here's the topics menu. And so this would be, let's say we're doing math. So we could do math flashcards, we could add terms, we could remove or edit, or we could do like a quiz. Because basically we just wanted to get the main features out. So that's kind of some of the things that we were working on. We just went through some other document things on here. I have no idea what this is.
That was for my app. I
Oh,
put that in there just to make it easier.
I didn't look at this. Sorry, I haven't seen this since then.
Yeah, so if you want to scroll down through those, the interface is pretty similar. It's just that it takes you to different things. Because I had to make something up so that I could put it in the put it into the proposal for the second proposal.
Uh-huh.
I basically just did that one by myself because I'm really hoping the first one gets approved and we can just do that one. So I just kind of put stuff together.
I kind of like your app though, because like that's a cool idea. If like you have family pictures, you're like, all right, what is this person doing? And everyone's like, oh, I remember that. That was when we were doing this. Anyways, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that'll be a
So
fun one to build someday.
yeah, that's pretty sweet. Make it on the App Store. Coming soon. So going through here, I think this one was also the project proposal. Did you already submit this to the professor?
Yeah, I did. I emailed that to him last night. It wouldn't let me email pictures, so I emailed it to him. I was like, if you want to see the full complete thing, he's got access to our drive, so he should be able to go in and see it. So I told him where it was.
Okay, I'm gonna just see for the heck of this. Um, I always wonder if he's on because I've added. Oops, you guys still there? Okay,
Yeah.
I've always added people sometimes because sometimes he's on and I've just talked to him and he's not on. But okay.
So basically, if I can just add on to what you're saying, Brandon, for
Yeah.
Chris, we were running into issues. I mean, we had the ideas of making all of those games for the quizzes, but we didn't have like a solid base of how that information would be structured in the application, how we would put the terms and definitions, questions and answers. And so we decided, well, let's first set up what we need to have as core features, and we can make assignments based off of that, and then move around after we've got the core features down. Then we can throw in those additional features.
So what are we considering our core features then?
Right here. So we have the add. We can add terms. We can remove or edit terms. We have flashcards and then a quiz.
Yeah, that sounds so. So the key though then is number 4 or 3 2. We just need to decide on a set object, like decide how we're going to save that data, and then everything should be butter from there, really.
Okay.
Because that's the one thing that could ruin us is if, I store my terms and definition in an object that has different names in a different order than you chose for your object, then that'll just totally ruin our app.
Correct. So then,
So then we have to decide on the attributes and how those things are going to be stored, right? The type of data that's going to go into each attribute.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, to me, it doesn't sound like that's terribly hard. Like, right now, we can even decide we'll have an
Right.
object with a term and a definition, and there you go. And then we can decide what other features we want to store with that object.
Right.
okay, I'm just pulling up a. Let's see. Just changing some of these. We'll just make a new.
Because a thought that I'm having right now, and I did this in my last example that I think I filmed it. With local storage, since we can save multiple different files, I think we should come up with kind of like a key or an ID or a naming convention. So every topic that the user creates will be a new list in local storage. And then that way, all you do is you pull up that list, and then inside that list will be the object that we've decided on. That object structure, term, definition, and whatever else we want to add.
Okay.
That sounds good.
That actually makes sense.
So what do we want to call this object? Should we just call it flashcard?
So the main object, I think maybe we should just call it topic, or maybe like study list, because inside that list then will be the flashcards for that particular topic.
Can we have the name of? Okay, can we have the name of the object be what a user inputs?
We could. That would complicate our code though, because then what if they accidentally name something the same thing?
That's true.
So it would be better if we just handled the name in it. So this is the way it would work in my mind. So first, we'd have a whole separate object that we save in local storage that only tracks all the list. So anytime they add or remove a new topic or study list, it gets updated in that object. And then that object can be read through to create that first page. So that first page where it shows all our topics, and then when they click on that, then it will load that particular separate object from local storage. I don't know if that makes sense. It's hard to explain without visuals.
So the structure would be similar to what you showed last time, having an JSON object with other objects inside of it, kind of like nested objects.
Yeah, but pretty much. If you guys give me a second, I'll draw something up here on Word, and I'll share my screen in a minute.
All right.
That'd be good.
So yeah, I was just thinking, for example, kind of from what I've understood, that you're saying is you have math, maybe underscore object. So that would be one object that you'd store in local storage, and then it would have, like you said, a bunch of. I'll just use JSON for now because that's one I understand. It'd have a bunch of attributes. So like ID is something, then maybe question one or answer, I guess would be answer 14. And then maybe the question or the term. Is that kind of what you're trying to explain?
Sorta. So that's drilling down a little bit farther into what I was saying.
Okay.
So with this, I guess I'm not sure what this would be called. This kind of structure,
I don't know. This
would it
is
be
just
like?
what I'm seeing in my head, but I'm sure Chris will probably do a better explaining of it.
I was just going to ask, is there a limit to how many lists can be created? Because one of the things that we wanted with the app was that the user could create as many topics as they want. Would we just generate a new object every time they generate a
Yeah,
topic?
but drilling down in the JSON world, how I'm thinking of it, like Chris said, you have a main object.
Hmm.
So they would create so this would be up here. And I might be explaining this wrong, but this is how I see it. So you have your main object here, and inside the object you'd have different sub-objects. I don't know the right way to term it, but so within JSON world, you can actually pull just this part, or I'm used to MongoDB, so this is how Mongo is kind of set up. Is here's your main what this would be called a document or a collection. So this would be our objects collection, and then in here these would be our different documents.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's how
Okay.
I'm understanding it. So I could be wrong. Chris, is that kind of what you're thinking, or am I still totally off?
Oh, no, you're on it. Just give me a second. I'm almost done with this.
Andrew, and about your question about the limit, I think the only limitation that we have is the capacity of local storage for a user
Okay.
to have as many lists and questions that the user wants. So I think we have a pretty good space since all this is just text. And with the
Yeah.
basic local storage space, we have up to 4 or 5 megs. So we are going to be fine, I think.
Or we could just have at the end, like, needed more study card space, go online or purchase, I don't know.
And the reason we want to have this structure is so that we can easily pull from one object instead of like and that's where it comes back to what Chris was saying earlier. Things aren't like misspelled. They're not looking for an object in the wrong spot.
Or actually, not having the same data structure can cause us problems when trying to retrieve data from other code, from the code created from others and in the team. So, yeah, that can be
Got it.
conflicting.
So we just have one that we can pull from because it will just be like a universal code for every single page that we create.
Right. If we know the structure and the naming convention that we are going to be using, it's going to be easier to develop
Okay.
our code and integrate it.
That's where I was confused what we were talking about there. Now I get it. Got it.
And I think as well, just if you guys see the kind of what I'm just trying to work on, or just the basic stuff. Let me actually move this down so I can. So what I've understood is, um, I know that someone was saying that we needed to. Well, what if we're in the math object and we want to give them a quiz, but we don't want to pull answers from the history object. Well, we could just do a random assortment and just pull the answer field out from all of the math questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. It'd be an easy way to organize that.
I bet you anything after I explain all of this that Chris is going to be like, guys, it's this easy.
Well, okay, I have my screen ready if you want.
Okay, here we go.
Let me just pick the right one. Okay, are you guys seeing my Google or my Word doc?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So first things first. So when the app first loads, they're going to land kind of here. We're going to have code that will go check, and we should probably change this name, but some master list. And inside that master list, it'll have a pointer that points down. Well, actually, this master list will be an object. So inside this object, so all we need to do is read one file from local storage. It'll have all these green boxes here. You know, there could be 20 of them, and all they are lists. So right now I just put ID, but they'll probably have a name. Like you called this one, you know, your algebra math cards. You called the next one your security class study sheet or your French quiz. So that's what the green ones would be, and all that is just a name of, like, you know, what is this about? Like, what did the user choose to name this list? So we'll have a unique ID that we generate in the back end, but the user can also, like, create a name for it as well. So that's what gets shown up on your topic tiles, those tiles you were showing me. And then when the user clicks on that, it will read this ID. That ID should be the unique file name that we auto-generated. So it will go read that file from local storage, which will be right here. So again, that'll just be a list object that inside of it, it's stored all these little flashcard objects. And those flashcard objects will be like terms, will be definitions, and what you guys were just saying there. I don't know if we'll add it to each card. I mean, we could add it to each card. We can even add a type that specifies that, hey, this is a math or a history.
So, Chris, I put that as an additional feature. We could come back in later and throw types into all of these cards so that they could have, like, this is a number type or this is a person type.
Yeah, well, that's something we're gonna that should be considered core, because right here you can see that to come back later we're gonna have to change the whole core feature. So that should just, all it is right there. How I just type. You're just adding another part to that object.
So we decide, so the reason we decided not to do the type as like a core in our other meeting was that we're like, well, it's not absolutely necessary to the rest of the core, like the quiz and flashcards.
Yeah.
It's not absolutely necessary, but we should build it in so that it will be easier later, is what you're saying.
Yeah, like it's such an easy thing to add that it would just cause so much headache if we don't do it at the start. Because all we do right here is decide, like off the top of your heads, I'm sure you guys can tell me that, okay, we want math problems, we want history. Like all you do is make a list of maybe 8 things that we want. Yeah.
What if you wanted a user though to define those types? Like they said, this type was a number question, or like.
Yeah, so what we're doing as a group is we decide, okay, we want these 8 types. So this one could be math, this could be history, someone could be studying a foreign language, so maybe this is a vocab language test. So we decide all those types, and all we do is we store them in a select list. So when the user creates this quiz, its default is blank. No type is saved to that question. But when the user is making that flashcard, they can choose to open the select list and pick. So that way, we don't have to save any values they create, but they have the option right there in a select list. That way, we control the data. They can't accidentally add some weird type that we never accounted for.
Yeah, Brandon, we talked about that before you got to the meeting last time. Sorry, we didn't catch you up on that. Evan said, what if someone misspells their type on one card, and that card will never appear when they want that type? Does that make sense?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So it'd be better to have like a selector box, just for ease of programming and user.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, and
That
I
makes
see
sense.
what Chris was talking about adding it right now, because if we want to develop anything around that structure, then it'll be better to have it right now. And it's just
Change
an
it later.
attribute
Yeah.
that you have to add into JSON, so that's pretty easy. That's pretty simple to have on the object.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, I agree with that.
if you guys want, I can write up a whole proper paper of this diagram that we can use for our actual objects, like the whole structure we should use.
Okay. That works with me. I'm kind of wondering how are we going to start doing the coding, because I know that I want to make sure that I am doing a lot of the coding, because I don't want to say I'm doing all, but like I want to be able to make sure I'm understanding everything that we're kind of going over. So what were you guys' thought? Did you want to split up the code into sections and everyone works on a piece, since we're not doing the actual features section yet, or how did you guys want to do that?
I'm open to anything. I mean, I love working with the GUI, so I would love just making the GUI. As good as I am at programming, like, it's fun.
Making the actual page.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I honestly don't care what I want to do, what I end up doing. So if there's something you guys really want to do because you want the practice or the experience, kind of just.
I don't have any problem either. So whatever you feel like I could do, it's just okay with me. I could do anything, pretty much.
So some of the thoughts that I had was, this is just one idea that we could do, is everyone takes a day. So you have someone do all the coding one day, and maybe we could just do adding on days and just seeing how it goes. That's one idea. Or that was just another idea. Or we could do the splitting it up into different sections where someone works on certain functions.
So Brandon, the problem I see with the day by day is that you come in and program it, and I don't understand why you did it the way you did, and so I have to like work backwards to try and fix it when you were doing it correctly, but I didn't understand it. So then I move on, and it could like mess it up
Okay.
for the next person, and I could mess up the previous person's.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think what we should do, even though we don't have all those other features, is technically we do have a few features right now. Like, obviously one that I'm seeing is we need something that can always write to local storage. So someone can write the whole local storage.
If you want, I can start working on that. I've been working with this and try to work it out, so I can create some functions that actually pass parameters, so you can actually save into local storage. Probably just asking for an entire object. I don't know, and just stringify it. I don't know, if you want, I can start working on that.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good idea. We just have to settle on what our structure of our objects is, because right there, so we have a master list that contains all the lists a user creates, and then we also have an individual list, which is the terms and definitions. So right there, those are two features that someone could program.
Right.
So I'm guessing, I'm guessing we're storing all of this in JSON. I mean, since we're doing deserialization and stuff. So I've kind of, so taking what you've said, Chris, So for example, we'd have a master list here. So this one actually, this would be the main object, and then it would have these sub objects. Am I like even close in this?
Yeah. So how you wrote. So the math object and history object wouldn't really exist. That would actually be the individual list. Those would just be two individual list objects. And then the type,
All of that.
the type would be stored as another key value pair. So you're close.
Okay, so I understand what you just said by the math and the object would be stored as a type, correct?
No, so yeah, so the math and the object would just be a type as part of the whole object itself. So how you did card number one, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the flashcard object, and then where you have math underscore object, that would be the individual list.
So this would just be list, and we'd only have one list.
Yeah, we'd have one list object. Well, we'd have two. We'd have one that's structured a little different, and that's for our master list. And then we'd have another one that's structured to store flashcards. So I guess you could call it a flashcard list.
Oh, so these, like right here, these are two separate ones.
Yeah. So the pink one and the yellow one are lists. Those are the list objects, and then the green and the gray are technically nodes. They're just links of the list.
List object.
So yeah, I'll rewrite that so the terms are better when I do this. I'll do it tonight so you guys can have it by tomorrow.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding these. The green is just, so the master list just points to the green, and the green contains all of the, as you said, in your example, you said there could be as many green lists as you want.
Yeah, so forget that I wrote list object on the green. Pretend that says, science class, history class, math class. Okay. So you can make all these lists as you want, and all it does is that stores just a file name, a random string that we auto-generated that is in local storage. So when the user clicks on it, we'll have another function that we send to like Jesus's code, for example, that loads that particular list from local storage, and that's the yellow object.
Okay,
and so
got it.
And that yellow object is just a big object with pointers that points to all these little flashcard objects, these little links that are part of it.
So if I'm understanding correctly, what we deemed in the meeting Tuesday, so the topic is the class. So like your topic would be like, security class, and that is this green. That's the green square, and it contains the orange square. So it's the list object. So it would be whatever, that's just the name and title of it, and inside that is the actual list with all the flashcards.
So let me clarify something here. So we want it to be, so let's say I made a security class, that's the green object. Mm-hmm. Do we want it to be where once they click on that, then it loads all these different flashcard sets for that particular class only?
Yes.
Yeah. That's
okay. That's fine. So all I'm doing is I'm missing a level then. So that green list basically would point to another master list that contains all the flashcard lists they made for that particular class, and then that one would point to the yellow.
Wait, are we having multiple flashcard lists per topic?
Yeah, so
yeah.
What I understood is, so like the way I have it on Quizlet right now, I have a security class. Mm-hmm. So my security class would be one of those green objects. So I click on it to enter my security class, but then when I get there, there's actually, like right now I have 10 different exams up. I have answers and questions to all the exams, and so I need to pick which chapter I want. And then so when I pick, let's say I pick chapter 10, that will then load the yellow object. So I'm just missing a step in between those two objects. There will actually be 3 steps to this.
Was that how we wanted to do this one? Because I wasn't sure. I don't think we ever really decided.
I don't know if we had done the different classes. I don't remember that, but I can understand the purpose of that. But because if you're like, yeah, I'm taking my history class, but then I want to do this, but at the same time, I'm like, well, what if we instead we just did like, this is all of our history 111, and then this is maybe like our history. We have down here history 211 or 213 or something.
Yeah, so that's what I showed you guys. That's the way I set up these little graphs.
Okay.
So if we want to do it the other way, it's honestly not that hard. All you're doing is making 2 different types of master list and 1 more screen. So the user would pick their class first, and then which particular thing they want to study from that class. So it just adds 1 more step. Like, we don't need to do it that way. I was just confused in how you guys were explaining. I don't know which way you guys wanted it.
Neither do we.
Yeah, Evan's the one that wanted it done a certain way, but I don't know. So this that I have up, is that kind of, if I'm understanding correctly, what you're explaining here? You have your master list, and then it has all of these objects in it. So this is an object.
Yeah, no, you're right.
This is an object. This is an object. This is an object. And then
Yep,
you have an individual list,
Mhm.
and it points to here. But then this field over here called type, maps up to.
It'll probably be a number. Like, we'll probably store it as an integer.
Mm-hmm.
So that way it's easier in our code. We can just do like a switch list
Okay.
that knows, like, okay, if it's a 0, it's a math question. If it's a 1, it's a vocab thing, or something like that.
That's not a bad idea.
So then you just map all. You'd have tons of cards, and then each of those cards would be related to something up here by this type. That right? So you'd have just tons of card objects.
Yeah.
No.
So.
Oh, the type just distinguishes what kind of question it is. Is this a math problem? Is this a definition to a term? Is this a question and answer? Is this a person?
Oh.
And it designates what kind of question it is. So when we go in later and add additional features with the quizzes and the different like speed quizzes and things, it won't take a math problem answer and match it with a definition to a term. So like,
Got it.
so it says what's 2 plus 2, and it has like banana and George Washington.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So my only question, Chris, is just this relating the. So like if I pulled up a math object, so I clicked on a math object, it pulled up math questions. Where are we going to have to create another field in here that says, like, for example, like question type, or from it's in this list? Like, how is that? How are you planning on mapping that? That's the part I guess I don't understand.
So the way like Quizlet works, for instance, is there's no need to map between. So let's say you go under math and you have chapter 1 and chapter 2. Well, there's no need to map chapter 1 to chapter 2. At least that's the way Quizlet does it. All you have to map is in between that study set itself. So when they load, say, oh, I want to study chapter 2's math questions, and let's say they have 20 terms in it, all it'll do when you choose to play those games or whatever later is it'll cycle through that 20. It'll just run through the link list and make the questions, and then it'll say, like, okay, well, question 3 is a definition. Like, you're supposed to type in a definition, but question 7 is numbers. You're supposed to pick a number answer, so it's not going to pair those together. Because the way it works, all you do is you keep the correct answer and you pull in 3 random answers from the rest of the quiz. So it's just
Right.
random.
Yeah, so that part makes sense to me. I guess I'm just trying to understand the flashcard part. So, for example, if the user clicks on math and they want to see the flashcard objects like they have, for example, what is 10 plus 4 or what is 10 plus 2,
hmm
how is this clicking on the math object going to know which cards to pull from the individual list?
So that goes back to the list objects, the green box. That unique ID points. So you could have 10 lists that all have the exact same name. The user chose to call them the same thing. But in the back end, we auto-generated that ID. So that ID will load the correct list of flashcards from the local
Oh,
storage.
like
Yeah,
this.
that's not just one list object. That you can have
Okay.
multiple.
So that would
Yeah.
be like our, okay, that's the part I wasn't getting. So we'd have a math list here, then a history list, and it'd have cards in it like that.
Yeah, so even if they
Correct.
named them exactly the same, we auto-generated an ID when they made that, so they're all going to
Right.
be considered unique.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that part wasn't making sense, but now I understand it.
Yeah, now I'm getting that too.
Sorry, I'm a visual person. I have to have visuals for this.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm going to draw all this up.
So Chris, I don't know what everyone's thoughts are actually on this one, but I don't know. It might just be easier to just have what you have here. So let's not put chapters within classes. Let's just have topics. So they can create a topic that's just this class period. They want to study this test rather than have classes and then
I agree. I think it's easier, but I would vote the other way. I would say we should allow that subclassing it. It's not that much more work, to be honest.
yeah, it isn't that much more difficult, but I just thought just for sake of easiness.
So we will have like 3 levels.
Yeah, and so it's really simple. I mean, the first 2 levels are just master list. So like those are really simple objects. All they do is they're just pointers to the file system. So the first level would be what class they're trying to study for, history, for example. And then when they click on it, it'll load another list that says, okay, which topic from this class do you want? Do you want chapter 2 or 3 or your vocab questions? Um,
Okay, got it.
yes. So
Yeah,
it is three
got it.
levels.
And then the third level will be the actual card,
Yeah,
right?
the third level will be the actual flashcards. That's the hard level. The first 2 are just extremely simple. They're almost the same.
Okay.
So what's everybody's thought? I think that's a I mean I'm good either way. I think that that way works just as good as the other.
Well, I guess it's good that structure. As Chris said, it's not that hard to add that
Mhm.
second level, and that the actual level that has more complexity would be the third level that represents each flashcard.
I'm fine with doing that. I just gotta learn. I'm not worried about the grade at this point. I'm more just worried about the learning it.
Right. I think I'm the same way. Actually, I'm taking all these classes because I want to learn some stuff and I want to move on to other stuff at work. So
So yeah, okay. So I've kind of understood this. So inside of this project folder, then I guess we could go ahead and get started. If we were to, for example, like create, how do we do that? We don't have to do MVC pattern it. Oh, I guess that'd be easier to do in this class. Would we do an MVC pattern or?
What is that?
Okay, yeah, then never mind.
It's the
Model view
model view
controller.
controller. Yeah.
So like you have something that controls all the operations, then something that does the views, and then something that does like the local storage. Kind of guess it's kind of the same concept, but just not called MVC.
That
Um,
sounds cool to me. I'm willing to learn it.
that's what we do with all of our applications that I've built. It's a lot easier and the code looks a lot cleaner. So you have your model, which is basically goes and does all the local storage stuff. It's all the functions that do that. Then you have your controller, which does all of the operations. So to get to the model, you have to go through the controller. The controller is like where all the main functions are defined that the user would get to. And then you have a view, which is kind of the view for the user. So that's where you'd have your, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's all your view pages. So you'd have your index would be in your controller because it's your main page. And then you have view pages in your view. So then when you view the page in your views, then it calls the controller, and the controller calls the model.
Right. The controller kind of resides in between the view and the model levels, or how do they call them? Oh yeah, uh, different levels.
Yeah. I mean, that's just what I'm used to. I Thanks for explaining this because this is the part that makes sense to me. So I just had to get that around my head. Um, so I guess if you want, Chris, if you would want to start the actual just setting up your structure or whatever, I could start the code inside of the project, kind of set up the structure for it. I guess, does anyone have a specific topic that they want to um, work on?
Well, actually,
'Cause I
no.
noticed that,
I could adapt to anything. Uh, you know.
yeah, I'm the same way. I think I've understood a lot of these. So I'll just, if anyone else wants to go ahead, then I'll just start putting the stuff in here. If you start working on something, I guess how could we know if two people are working on the same thing at the same time? That way we could say, hey, I'm working on this too, so then they could either work on it together or what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think we should assign features so for the most part we're working on only one thing. But
Right.
if there is something where we need to overlap, then I don't know what type of system we can use. Just talk to each other, really, let each other know this is what I'm doing, and comment your code. Because if you comment your code and two of us are working on the same thing, we can kind of see which direction we're coming from, and then talk to each other. Because sometimes you might be working on the same thing, but they're unrelated. So you guys can kind of just ignore the fact that you're working on the same thing, and you can just like merge each other's code together.
Okay, that sounds good to me. I'll just put this PowerPoint out here then. So if you guys, maybe what we can just do is just sign up for which thing you want to be over and start building out. And then once Chris puts together that diagram or structure of how we're going to kind of do things, we can go from there. So for example, if someone wants to start working on maybe the transformations, what kind of things we want to see in there, they can put that in there. So we'd have like inside of our folder here, we'd have a CSS file that would do all of the, so we do external style sheets. So basically, I think,
Yes.
I'll go
I had
ahead.
a question. I had a question on that. Are we going to do like one style sheet that's used through the entire application, or we want to do page by page?
It should be one for the entire thing. We should have like a common theme, and then you just
I'd personally rather just,
go on.
I don't hear anything from Brandon.
I was just saying I would personally rather do one style page.
Okay. I was just thinking, like, if someone makes a game, like a quiz, and they want the boxes to do a certain thing, so they put CSS div do this. So we just have to make sure that we ID everything, if that makes any sense.
Let's remember that this is a single page application that we are going to be working with Ajax. So most of the styling for the outer part of the page can stay the same, and we are just going to be throwing code into probably one div or a section in the page. So
Okay, I didn't realize this was solely a single page application. I thought we were using multiple pages, just with like still using Ajax to use on the one page, but we still had like 3 or 4 pages. Does that make sense?
It's yeah, I know what you're saying. It's kind of like our project website. How even though you go there, you can see all this different stuff every time you click on the links, but really you've stayed on
It's
the
just
same page the whole
it's
time.
just one page. Okay, I got it. I did not realize that. Thanks, Jesus.
I didn't know that either, so that's
okay.
good to know.
So that's what I can recall. Let me just verify, but what I can recall is a single page application. That's why we picked Ajax, so we could call pieces of our page and then do just an updating of the sections that will be changed.
See,
Yeah,
and that's
no,
where when you were presenting those topics, I was like, well, what's the point of doing that if why don't we just add more pages? That's what I would think the whole time. I was like, why do we need to only use one page? That's because that's the assignment.
yeah.
Got it.
I mean,
Got
it's
it.
not just the assignment too. It cuts down on loading times, so the person has to download a JavaScript and a CSS file once, and then the whole time, like if they're on the website for an hour, all it is these little teeny tiny requests that go back and kind of change the page a little bit instead of having to reload everything all the time.
So it's faster.
Right.
Okay.
So I've just created on here, so our style CSS file, and I agree with you on maybe we need to create different IDs for each one. I think it might be useful if we stick to the kind of the same structure, and then if we want to add in something, then it would be easier, I think, to go back and refactor the code to where we basically go and say, okay, all of the IDs that deal with, this is my personal opinion, I could be wrong, but if we went back and refactored, like if we went to a different feature, then we would just change the IDs on that feature, and then we could just update the style, the CSS style with that ID, and then change that. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
That sounds good to me. I mean, I don't think we'll need many IDs. Like we'll have the core set of IDs and classes, but then like later on when you do flashcards and stuff or you do a game, you're going to be adding your own little classes anyway, so there shouldn't be any clashes.
Okay.
Yeah, we
So I
just have to
have,
make sure that whoever is making the flashcard isn't using the same IDs from the core, so they're aware that they have to label their div. They can't just be div. That makes sense.
yeah.
That's what I was talking about. So like if we're using div and you go really specifics like a flashcard, then all of our divs are going to start doing that unless they're
Yeah.
ID otherwise.
Well, yeah, so like we don't want to over target, so we don't want like you can use div and not even call it a flashcard as long as you know that div is inside of a particular nested structure. Then you can do targeted CSS rules. So what I'm saying is, like, I agree with you, but let's not get crazy and start giving classes to every single div we make
That
or
makes sense.
IDs.
Oh, okay. Got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't know. I could probably do the CSS Nobody
Yeah.
else. If everybody else is kind of doing something.
I would just say sign up on. We'll just have this a sign up chart that I just put in our docs. I personally like JSON, so I can sign up for like doing some JSON and deserialization and stuff.
So, well, this is just coding topics, but what about like particular features we're trying to work on? So, like, and when you say CSS, are you going to do the whole GUI for us so we can start linking into that, or?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what we were
Okay.
talking about. Just doing the entire overarching CSS design, I guess. So kind of do the design of the site, the colors and how the divs look and the buttons look.
Yeah, well, and make a good general framework as well, because we should assume that someone's going on their mobile phone and their tablet and their laptop.
So make something that's adjustable.
Yeah, so something that scales.
Got it.
Some responsive
Okay.
design, I guess.
Yeah.
Flexbox.
Yeah. Yeah, that can help. That can help a lot.
Yeah, it was super helpful for my project.
Yeah, it was. I have used it, and it has been really helpful for responsive design. It makes things easier than if you just go with CSS like that. I have done things both ways, and Flexbox has taken a lot of work off my back.
So is Flexbox a site?
It's a framework. I don't know if he wants us to use that, though. I think he wants us not to use libraries and frameworks.
Oh yeah, I forget
Oh,
about
okay.
that because we're sticking to the basics.
Okay, so that takes Flexbox out of the possibility.
However, I will say
That gives me more work.
Flexbox and Bootstrap is kind of. Oh, actually, you should even look up. Oh crap! I'll have to find a name for you. I think it's called. I'll have to look up the name. You can look up other frameworks and code your own.
Like pure CSS and stuff like that.
Yeah. If you look up those and kind of see how they're made, I'm not a fan of pure CSS though, but if you see
Right.
how they're made, you can make your own.
Okay. I'll just have to go in and study that a little bit more, like the frameworks, because I don't remember how I did it for my website.
I've just created inside of this project folder. We'll have an index, which is our main page, our style. Um, do we just want to call our model with all of our functions just model.js? Is everyone okay with that?
Sure.
Sounds good.
And then, since technically we don't have to worry about views, since it's all going to be in Ajax, all we're really doing is just the controller and the model, one single view. So,
So do we want to have someone working on the specific? Would this be? I might be wrong here, but do we want to have someone working on the specific content for the menus? So like the HTML that will be used for the start screen, main menu, settings menu, topic menu.
So can you say that again? I missed that.
So do we want to have someone assigned right now to be working on the actual content of the different menus on the app? So like the start screen, the main menu, the settings menu, the topic menu, doing the HTML.
Well, I think that would have to be you. If you're going to do the CSS, you need to make the HTML structure as well.
Okay.
You could just make it like dummy text for now, like a hamburger menu with fake text, and we can come change that later. But you'll need that structure so you know what to style.
Okay. This is exciting. I like this part. I like this part of programming. I definitely love the design.
So yeah, I guess we could just start going with that, and then I'll work on some of the JSON. So I guess I can start getting set. Um, I don't really. I know that you, Chris, are going to make that document. Once you have that, I should be good to go ahead and start creating those JSON files and stuff, and then I can start working on kind of the serialization and stuff. So I was just thinking maybe on this list, just putting primaries on each one, like who's in charge of it, but that doesn't mean like that person has to do it all. Like someone else can help out if they want to. That was just my opinion.
Sounds good to me.
So,
So
Chris, what would you like to do?
Right now, I'm working on the objects, I guess, since I'm
Okay.
writing up this list.
Okay. Okay, I can help out
Putting
with
them
the
there.
local storage. I think nobody has signed up for that, right? Or have somebody?
No, I don't think so. Am I spelling your name?
and I believe Evan wanted to work on the specific flashcards, but does that would that have to be done after JSON's done? And
Uh,
the objects.
yeah, but I mean, we should be able to. Well, at least I should be able to knock out the objects pretty quick.
Okay, so he was saying in the last meeting, he's like, I've already got a lot of the card flipping and flashcard part of the app done from his practices. So
Yeah, so that's part of CSS also with the animations and transformations and all that.
Yeah, I'll put him on here.
so I don't
110.
know if animations is really where I would be the primary, because it sounds like I'm just kind of doing like the skeleton of the whole thing.
So you're kind of doing the DOM in a way.
I guess so, but I'm not doing manipulation. I'm just building the structure so that we can operate everything in. It's kind of the I don't know what it would be called and what code topic it would fit in.
Well, so I guess if you want to just do kind of, I'll just put HTML with DOM because they're very similar. I feel, and I can do. I'll do the Ajax. I'm fine with doing two on here. So unless anyone else wants to do the Ajax personally.
Well, I think we should just focus more on features, like how's the menu going to work? Where's that going to link to? How's that page going to work? How's the flashcards going to work? Because if we just design the app, I guarantee you we're going to use every one of these coding topics.
Yeah, something I thought, Brandon, is like if we assign like, okay, you're going to do the main menu, then you get to do a little bit of every code topic. So it kind of gives you a chance to review everything. But
Right, I think I like that idea better because we get to apply about everything that we have learned.
Okay. Oh, but looking at this.
so then it comes back to how do we want to divide up the features? Mine, I guess, what I volunteered to do is kind of build the CSS, just the overall design of the whole application, so that it will have continuity, and I'll probably be using animations and transitions, just so some of the general things like a button will do the same thing on the topics interface as the flashcard interface. They'll be similar looking.
Well, so Chris, if I understand right, and guys, like if I click on this topic here, that's gonna manipulate. We're manipulating the DOM because we're doing AJAX requests.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, we're not technically. So it's not really so much. So maybe that's what we should do is just have everyone, like you guys said, just to assign a page to each person. So maybe Evan wants to do the flashcard, so he'll assign him to that. Because I don't know if, because like you're saying, Andrew, like when you say you're going to build the HTML, I'm like, well, how do you build the HTML? Because technically we're going to be manipulating it.
Right. That's where I was kind of confused as to who was building the menus.
Well, if you do so the menu should still be you, like the little topic boxes, that all should be you. You lay out the structure for us. You get it working responsively with CSS, so if you're on your phone, it scales down. And then later on, so let's say someone takes the topic page, so the page that happens after the click, well, then it's their job to come back and add anything on top of your own code if they want to add responsiveness. So if they want that to have some cool effect or whatever and then load their page, that's up to them to do.
So I should just make this main menu the topics menu that Brandon's on right now. That's the only thing I should make, and then everybody else will work on.
No, so you could do. So if you do the CSS, you would do everything, or you could do everything. So you could do the main menu, and we could follow your vision. So you could say, okay, after they click on this, that page should look like this, and you give us that structure. And then after they click on this, the flashcard page should look like this. So it's up to you. You can do the whole thing, and we have to use your layout, or you can just do the front, and then we kind of go back and forth and designing the pages. But see, the problem is someone might design their page different than the other person, and now the app looks different. So we need to have some sort of generalization.
Okay, I see. So I see why you're saying it needs to be one that does everything, just so it's got continuity.
We have to have consistency across the application. I guess that's one of the principles of designing, not to make it look very different, but have some kind of consistency across the entire application on the design.
Yeah, and like you can focus on just getting that consistency for us, Andrew, and not focus on any other advanced stuff. So no transitions, no fancy features. That's someone else's job to come and add and put in later. So that way you're not getting overwhelmed. So you just get to focus on getting the framework working perfect.
Okay. I don't mind doing that if that's what we.
Oh yeah,
want
yeah.
to do.
If you want, that's cool. I mean, I just don't want to overload you. Like, do everything. You do all the CSS, all the HTML. Like, so just to make it simpler on you, if you want, don't worry about those fancy transitions and animations. Let someone add that to the structure you make. But that's
I'm just working on the I'm good with that. We're on the very, very bare bones. Make sure we have a solid structure for the entire application. So then my question comes: if this is a single page application, how am I creating menus on different screens? Because aren't we when we click onto the topics, it's pulling from local storage.
So then you'd be calling a function within local storage, and then you need to manipulate the DOM to be able to input whatever we're pulling from local storage to be dynamic.
Yeah, so the way that works, Andrew, is most of our page is in one giant div that takes up most of the page, and I usually call it like I give it an ID of content or something like that, and then all you're doing is you're erasing its inner HTML every time the user clicks on technically a new page, and then the AJAX request just goes and grabs that new page. So for instance, the home page, when they click on a topic, that new page doesn't really exist, like Brandon was saying. It's just a function that loops through a little local storage file, and then so inside that function you'll have it build the HTML for it. So what you need to do is you need to pretend that it's already happened. So you need to just hard code an HTML page of like, okay, the user clicked on this topic. This is what the HTML page should look like. And
So
then,
I'm not building that function. I'm just putting everything together. Someone else is going to come in and put those together like that.
yeah,
Andrew,
so
I
like,
can show something that might help you. I created my portfolio in a way that I was using a single page application. So I don't know if that helps you if I show you and explain how it's working, kind of.
Yeah, I've seen it before. So if you want, that might be helpful. I think I kind of understand. I just was thinking I had to build the DOM, like I had to build the DOM manipulation and all the HTML so that it worked. And I was like, it seems like what it's like that seems like a lot for one person. Well,
Right.
I got it now. I think.
So I don't know if you want me to share that or you're okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead and share.
Okay.
So really quick, I just got a ticket with work. I'm on call now. It sucks, but so I have to like log out of this account and get to my other account to get into our basically our network at work. Can I, if I stop this, it keeps going, correct?
I'm not sure about that.
I think it'll end if you do it. I mean, I think we got a lot accomplished. I mean, if we need to, let's comment on the video.
Okay.
Right.
Because
Andrew, if you want, I can show you that on the side, if you want, out of these meetings, so we don't keep everybody here.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
And is everyone okay with using? I don't know, Chris. Do you use Google Chat at all?
Oh, Hangouts, you mean?
Yeah.
I'll use it if I notice I get a message from you guys. That's fine.
Okay, I'm just wondering because like if I'm gonna start working on something and be like, hey guys, I'm working on this right now, and like if anyone else is working on it, right now I'll just start getting ready and start getting functions for like the AJAX requests and stuff, and started getting all those functions defined, kind of some structures maybe, and while you do the object structures, Chris, and then I'll just start going through what I can. So I took basically a whole week of work off, so.
Oh, nice.
So I wanna make sure.
I took every Friday from next Friday until the end of the semester off, so I'm gonna be working Fridays and Saturdays on this.
Awesome.
So if
So
you
what deadline do we want to give for ourselves? I mean, I could go in and write up like a quick, I don't know, like a quick little project plan. Is that what we call it?
Well, so I think we should plan on a time to get together. What are you guys okay with Tuesday next week as well?
yeah, no problem
Yeah,
for me.
works for me.
Yep.
Okay. So let's plan on Tuesday then, same time, and then we'll try that. And then I think that's a deadline where we should try to get most things up and running, because I mean time is cutting down. That way we can make sure we get everything integrated together.
That sounds good. Gives a little bit of time.
So next Tuesday are we meeting? But are we working on any of the topics right now? Any of the coding? That's not clear to me. So I'm just asking.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
let's work on the things that we determined we would work on individually, and
Okay.
then bring that together. Hopefully, have enough done that we can bring it together and do something with it on Tuesday.
Okay. Okay, so in my case, am I working on because it's not clear to me. So, am I working on what feature or local storage or yeah, I'm kind of confused here.
So in here, so I put you down for local storage.
Okay, should I start working on that?
Yeah, so if you want to like start doing some documentation or even like getting ready to do the local storage, then like kind of how you want it set up, then we can
Okay.
go from there and make sure that everyone's getting into local storage correctly.
Okay. 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 Excellent. Okay, it's clear now. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So, all right.
Hey,
Well, I will.
Jesus, I was say if you wanted to meet separately, maybe we could do that another time. I know it's kind of late for you over where you're at.
Well, whatever works best for you, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, tonight doesn't work super well for me, so
Okay. Okay, just let me know when would be a good time and we can do it.
okay, I'll message you.
Okay. Excellent.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks. Sorry this meeting went so long.
No worries. I'll catch
Yeah.
you guys later.
See ya.